we come together for this graduation ceremony, let us join our hearts and minds in prayer. Let us pray. Holy One, we stand before you on this day by no means of our own. You have brought us to this place and formed us as a community of learning with humility, questioning with hope, of a brotherhood bound by our individual gifts and a gracious restlessness for what lies beyond. We thank you for these years through which you have formed us and challenged us and made us one. We praise you for the relationships that make Salisbury more than a mere educational institution, as we thank you for the people who teach beyond the classroom, who coach beyond the sport, who serve beyond their duty, who live beyond their lives, all for the love of those to whom they bid farewell on this day. As these graduates embark on their journey, we pray for their voyage. Wrap them by your spirit of life so that as they go from this place to encounter the challenges that face our world, they may find the creative will to offer their lives as vessels of your grace. And along their way, make them wise, but not beyond curiosity. Make them sure, but not beyond hope. Make them strong enough to be dependent on the ones they love, and grateful enough to give it all away. Ordain their lives so that through them this world may know what it means to lead a life worthy of the calling to which we are all called. And Lord, forever, lift our eyes to these hills to find strength for our journey back home, to this place, this home, this family. Amen.
Colin, you just fell for the oldest trick in the book. Good morning and welcome. My favorite Aunt Sis lad, who passed away this spring at the ripe old age of 88, had a saying, a kind of a signature saying. And whether it was raining or snowing or sunny like this, or she'd look around the room and she'd say, "Isn't this great?" And that's what I'm thinking about right now. This is great. On behalf of the Salisbury School community, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all of our honored guests who are present in the Centennial Quadrangle this morning for this closing moment of celebration for the great class of 2014. I would also like to recognize members of the Salisbury School Board of Trustees who have joined us today, including our chairman, Mr. Michael Sylvester, class of 1959, his classmate and our vice chairman, Dick Field, Eric and Dana Macy, parents of son Eric, who's a graduating sixth former, and trustee emeritus, Dick Monroe. And I forgot a few in between, I'm sure. We have special thanks to the weather gods. We have a cool spring morning to host this occasion. And it's remarkable to think that over the last 23 years, we have been in this quad under mostly sunny skies for 22 of them, which is quite a record. Every year, about 10 days or so before graduation, I begin checking weather.com and the various local stations for the 10-day and then the 7-day and then the 5-day forecast, praying for good weather. This kind of weather. Last year, as you may remember, for those of you who were here, it was hot. It was really, really hot. In fact, in the middle of the ceremony, everyone was gathered under these two trees, and there was this emptiness here, which made the graduates feel very lonely. That's not the case today. It's perfect. And I like to think that the sun always shines on a Salisbury School graduation. And here we are again, gathered for this one last moment to celebrate a terrific class of boys, the class of 2014. To all parents, grandparents, brothers and sisters and cousins, extended family members, we are really pleased to have you here for this momentous occasion. You've probably heard me say this before, but we know the sacrifices you all make to enable your sons to attend Salisbury School. It's costly. And I mean costly in a lot of ways. Financially, a Salisbury school education is an enormous investment for every family. But it may be an even greater emotional investment. It's not easy letting your teenage sons, leave home. It's not easy to place your teenage sons in the care of someone else. There's one particular mom in the audience who sobbed and sobbed and sobbed on my shoulder the day she left young TJ in our care. She will go nameless. And the truth is that Tracy and I would probably do the same. In fact, our day to sob is today. And you will see that later when our boys leave this hilltop. But the emotional cost is enormous. Thus, on behalf of the entire faculty, I just want to say one final thank you. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to teach your sons, to care for your sons, to love your sons like they are our own. I often use the phrase, our boys. This is intentional. You give us your sons for a pivotal time in their lives, in their young lives. What an incredible gift. A truly selfless gift. Thank you. To my faculty and staff colleagues, a huge thank you. Seated to my left is a truly remarkable group of people. In my humble opinion, the finest cadre of educators I know. Loyal and inspiring, caring and yet demanding, supremely dedicated and wonderfully talented. I know I don't say this enough, but I feel blessed to serve this school with all of you, each and every day. Thank you for giving your best to the boys. You are what makes Salisbury School great. It is you, individually and collectively, who define us. It is you. Thank you. And finally, saving the very best for last, the soon-to-be graduates. We congratulate you all on this fine accomplishment. These last years of your lives have been arduous at times and challenging. There have been moments of pure joy, and others, hopefully only a few, of bitter disappointment. Regardless, it's been a grand adventure. You're better, you're stronger, and you're wiser for it. And today we gather here together, as Reverend Hall just said in the chapel, together on the hilltop. One final time to conclude your secondary school experience. Congratulations, boys. You made it. Today marks the 113th graduation ceremony held on this hilltop since the Reverend George Emerson Quayle founded Salisbury School in 1901. Back in 1901, or even in 1934, in the throes of the Great Depression, I know Dr. Quayle would never have envisioned such a robust class of boys waiting patiently for diplomas. In fact, 80 years ago in 1934, there were only 34 boys in the entire school. All 34 lived comfortably in Payson Dormitory right behind us, and there were 6 masters along with Headmaster Quayle teaching. Boy, have times changed. And 80 years hence, here we are, celebrating an outstanding class of boys, their many accomplishments and contributions. As I've said to you over the last couple of days, this is indeed a very special moment in your lives, your graduation day. A moment that marks the transition from boyhood to manhood. It is a unique, once-in-a-lifetime kind of moment. A day to remember always. In a few moments, we will have the opportunity to hear from our noted speaker, Mr. Ralph Manconi, Salisbury School's senior master. Mr. Manconi knows this school as well as anyone, having served on the faculty for the past 43 years. In fact, he has worked along 4 of the 7 headmasters in the history of the school. Mr. Manconi is retiring this year, and so, like the exceptional class of boys seated to my right, he too is moving on to his next adventure or adventures. It is a long-standing tradition to ask someone from the school's family to address the sixth form on their graduation day, and we are excited to welcome Ralph Manconi. After this, we will hear from School President Blake Owens, and I know that his remembrances of classmates and hopes for their future and the school will mark this grand occasion. And then, lads, then it will be time to receive the symbol of your achievement. A crimson leather binder with a graduation certificate inside. And for those of you who are anxious, you need not worry. They are all signed. But before we turn to our noted speakers, I'd like to share just a word or two of reflection about the group of boys seated before me. For they are indeed a very special lot. Fellas, here we are. It has been a long time since we began this journey together. Do you remember sitting in the chapel your first day of your third form year? Can you remember that far back? Can you remember what it felt like? 29 of you sitting before us. From Appleby to Wong, Hamden, Connecticut to Beijing, China, and so many places in between. Throw in two guys named Harrison, Angelo from Namibia, and a brash young kid named Rudy from the main line. And we were off and running. This class already had a lot of spunk. What a joy it has been to watch you grow. There were some interesting roommate combinations that first year. And nightly wrestling in the common room and ward was a constant source of fun and intrigue. The next fall, 25 new stalwarts joined the class. You were bigger and stronger, and the class of 2014 was showing great promise. Big Nick from the West Coast, minus the hair, of course, and three little brothers named Will, Rex, and Joey joined in. Still, there was a reason why the adjective sophomoric is used at times in a not-so-flattering way. You just needed a little bit more seasoning, I think. The fall of 2012 brought us 24 additional nights for our proverbial round table, from Baker to Wong. Add two guys named Robinson, twin brothers named Smith, a KJ and a TJ, and we had a talented bunch, seeking to use their last 2 years of secondary school to shape their future. And trusting Salisbury was the place to do this. You all fit in so well. The brotherhood piece makes that happen naturally and easily. It's kind of a come one, come all situation. By the fall of 2012, we could tell this class was going to be great in many respects. And finally, this past September, 22 new boys arrived to make this class whole. And you came from all over, Bangkok to Madrid, Chicago and Toronto, Texas and Washington State, and from Denver to Boston. We even got an angel from South Florida named Jesus. What a crew, this class of 2014. You all have made this a very special time at Salisbury School. You've worked hard to make us a family, and you've marked your journey in many important ways. Trust that the light in the cupola that sits atop of Maine will shine brightly throughout your lives and will lead you back to the hilltop in years to come. As each of you moves on to the next chapter of your education and life, we trust that you will always remember that Salisbury boys are gentlemen, first and foremost. Until your last breath on this earth, you are a Salisbury gentleman. Thank you for your love, your hard work, your partnership, your patience, your good humor, and your exemplary character. Congratulations. Before we get to our speakers, I want to heed tradition and spend just a brief few moments honoring and recognizing outstanding service of the members of Salisbury School's faculty and staff. This morning, it is a great pleasure to acknowledge a number of colleagues who have reached important milestones in their careers at Salisbury. Those members of our faculty and staff who are completing 5 years of service, please stand and be congratulated. 2 members of the Salisbury School maintenance staff, Wayne Hurlbut and Bob Klippel, 6 members of the dining staff: Tony Frankel, Scott Hudak, Keith Hudak, Scott Kelly, Christopher Palmer, Wilton Vargas Valencia, and Carlos Sierra. And 1 member of the teaching faculty, Edgar Giffen. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Completing 10 years of service, 2 members of the maintenance staff, Wayne Farrington and Brian That's a Night Proper. 2 members of the professional staff, Danielle Sinclair and Michael Brown. And that's it. Thank you. Completing 15 years of service, Assistant Librarian John Mahoney. And finally, completing 25 years of service to Salisbury, incredibly loyal and resilient housekeeping staff member Shirley Moyer. Finally, I'd like to recognize a truly unique individual today. I would ask that retiring colleague Linda Ryan rise so that the entire audience can acknowledge her 20 years of dedicated service to Salisbury School. Linda. As we've remarked before, you are one truly amazing lady. We love you very much and will miss you desperately. Please come back and visit us often. It is a great honor to introduce today's graduation speaker. Ralph Manconi is a truly remarkable man, and we are blessed to know him as a friend and colleague. As I said, 43 years ago, he answered the call to come to this hilltop to teach English. Salisbury was in dire need of a bright young mind to serve and inspire the boys. That was the summer of 1971. In the 43 years since, Salisbury has been blessed with your incredible talent and uncommon dedication. The truth be told, it's not the raw number of years of service that is so stunning. Rather, it is the richness of his service, the versatility that he has demonstrated, and the impact that he has had on hundreds, if not thousands, of students and colleagues. Ralph Manconi has served in so many key roles in support of the boys in the school, including leading both the English and economics departments as chairman, serving as the first and only holder of the James A. Carter Chair for the Senior Master, working as the school's archivist, as a member and secretary of the Cum Laude Society, as a dorm parent for 35 years in North and Priestman Cottage, as a founder and coach of the vaunted paddle tennis team for more than 30 years, as an important historian for the school, guiding the pillar as advisor, editor, and photographer, and finally, and perhaps his most influential role as a champion of the Salisbury Summer School program, for which he has served as a faculty member for 30 years and as a director from 2003 to 2012. It takes a very special person to serve so thoughtfully and so loyally for what, in many respects, in reality, is a lifetime. What a gift to us all. Perhaps one of his most endearing qualities is his humility, and that's what makes him a true Salisbury man. You are unheralded, happy to duck the praise you deserve, preferring to lead a quiet and unassuming life of service to others. And for 43 years, you've sought to make us a better school community. You have endeavored to help boys grow into accomplished and successful young men. Ralph, you are an incredible human being, and this community is forever in your debt. As he ascends to the podium, please join me in recognizing today's graduation speaker, retiring Senior Master, Ralph Manconi.
Thank you very much. It is indeed an honor to be up here today. and I know how it is to be down there for many other graduations, and it's cool up here. Freezing. I was a little nostalgic and wistful last evening when we heard that the sixth form parents have nearly completed raising the funds to refurbish North Dorm up here to my left. I say nostalgic because I lived there in my early days at Salisbury and remember its medieval charm of gloomy hallways and primitive plumbing that greeted a new teacher just arriving on campus in September 1971. The headmaster at that time, Ed Ward, said that I could choose either South Dorm or North Dorm to live in, but I chose North because of its larger rooms and better view. Now, I said I was wistful because I wonder how it would be to come back in the fall of 2015 and see how your gifts, parents, will have changed the place for the better. Thank you on behalf of new young teachers who will enjoy New North's future charms. When I was asked by Mr. Chandler in the spring to give the graduation address, at first I thought I might spend some time mentioning how graduation has changed over the years that I've been here. But then I realized that wouldn't be very interesting because it actually hasn't changed that much. It's a very traditional ceremony full of energy, emotion, and good feelings that has occurred in this setting nearly every time in my career. I say nearly every time because in 1988 we started here, but we had to decamp in disarray to the old gym, as it's called, named the Myers Gym, midway through because of a rain shower. That was a bit chaotic, as you might imagine. Then 16 years later, in 2004, it rained all day, and we held graduation in the hot and stuffy sports dome. Not a good place. I don't think we would have gone there today even if it had rained. And after that, we have gathered here in the quad under a great elm tree that eventually succumbed and left us in the sun. The only other difference that I can remember is that graduation used to be called Anniversary Day, a name that puzzled me for years, and I'm glad we changed it. Well, last weekend, it dawned on me what a challenge it would be to be speaking to so many different groups at the same time today. Current students and graduates, parents and family, and faculty colleagues, and distinguished trustees, each of whom has varied impressions and feelings about these ceremonies on the last day of the school year. By current students, I'm referring to the fifth formers who lined the procession route as it wound its way from the chapel to the quadrangle. I have to believe that they are thinking ahead now to their own graduation ceremony 1 year from now, and thinking how much has to be accomplished before that day arrives. Don't worry, guys in the back, your day will come, and it will come faster than you can ever imagine. I don't expect to be here 1 year from today, but you will, and you'll be sitting up front just as charged up as today's seniors are. Parents and family members, it must be that you are feeling great pride as your sons or grandsons or brothers have come to the successful completion of study on what I like to call this verdant hilltop. Maybe you also feel a tinge of regret when you realize that you probably won't be back here very often. And if you do return, it will be for another reason than to watch your son play in a game and go out to dinner or to meet one of his teachers. And then there is another large group here, my faculty colleagues, who may be looking not only with a bit of wonder and even amazement, as well as pride, at the results of their years of hard work with the graduating sixth formers. In a piece written by Roosevelt that I read during the winter, he referred to teaching as, quote, one of the 5 learned professions, along with law, medicine, the ministry, and military leadership. All 5 of these professions, wrote Mr. Roosevelt, are devoted to, quote, the public good and benefit, rather than just earning a living. And that is the decision that all of our own teachers at Salisbury, as well as educators across the U.S., have made for their lives, to work for the public good and benefit. The much acclaimed poet, playwright, actress, and human rights icon Maya Angelou, who died this week, always said that her role as a teacher was the most meaningful to her. A headline in the Wall Street Journal caught my eye last April. It read, "Young teachers stick around." The article reported on, quote, a new generation of teachers who love their profession and have chosen to stay in teaching during one of the most tumultuous periods in U.S. education. Now, although this story focused on the public school sector, the same level of energy, enthusiasm, and dedication to students and to finding solutions are found on our faculty here at Salisbury, where, as you may know, only a small number have decided to pursue other paths as the year ends, in line with the trend that the Department of Education discovered. We have seen at Salisbury an impressive number of new courses, teaching styles, and experimental programs that show that while our school may be small by some standards and somewhat isolated from major centers of culture and learning, the same level of innovation and imagination can emanate from the Walkmeister Science Building, or Centennial Hall, or the Ruger Arts Center, or the Seifert Theater, as from much larger institutions. Now to the graduating class of 2014. There has to be a great deal of pride in what you've done and anticipation as you look ahead. Yet this is the last and final time that the whole class will gather, and there is a sadness in doing anything for the last time. Look around you and see not only your close friends, whom you're probably sitting with, but be conscious of all members of your class who are sharing these moments with you. You've made some deep friendships during your years at the school, which will endure for years. At reunion weekends, I am always struck by how many Salisbury graduates have remained close for years and years after they have moved on from here. This will happen with you too. With a friend, you find a special compatibility and a freedom to communicate and understand that does not exist with others. "He is my friend" is a powerful statement, wrote another U.S. president, Jimmy Carter, in one of his books. As you, the graduates of 2014, leave Salisbury, you are taking with you a body of knowledge and skills that will benefit you in whatever you do in life. This is one of the basic goals of getting an education. But besides skills in reading, writing, math, languages, sciences, etc., you should also have learned to handle setbacks, as well as to embrace success. During your time here, there have been disappointments, grades that didn't meet your expectations, team or club rosters that you didn't make, college acceptances that didn't come through. When things don't cut the way you want them to, that's when you show what you are made of. That's when you show the strength of your character. As you heard in chapel a few weeks ago, there is one or maybe more than one teacher, advisor, coach, or dorm proctor that you owe a lot to, for inspiring you, for helping you when you were in trouble, for setting you on a possible career path. At some point, graduates, as we say goodbye today, contact that teacher and let him or her know the importance that they had in your lives while you were here. For there is nothing more gratifying for a teacher to hear than he or she has made a lasting difference in the lives of individual students. When the time comes for you to make a choice of a career, whether it's one of those 5 learned professions that I talked about earlier or something else, I want you to remember the advice of a very smart man, a former physics teacher at Salisbury, Bob Gardner, who was here a few weeks ago. In his own informal way, Bob told a physics class, quote, "Whatever you decide to do with your life, make sure it's something that you enjoy doing, because you're going to be doing it a long time." I said at the beginning I had many groups to speak to today. I had a few words for the fifth formers out back, then something for the parents, even more for the faculty, and even more to come for the seniors who are graduating. Yet there's one group I haven't mentioned. It's not actually a group by any definition. It's one person only, and that's me, and my connections to the class of 2014. Because I was away from school for most of the winter and part of the spring, getting my house on the Cape ready and doing elder care for my 92-year-old mother and getting involved with several nonprofit organizations that I'm working with, I did not get to know all members of this class equally well. But what I do know from my contact with this class is a series of bests at least for me. My sixth form English class on detective and mystery fiction was the best elective class I have had in years, and I really missed them when I was away. Adam Bauman had the best grade ever on my fall term exam in economics, getting 100. And I think class president Blake Owen had an almost equal grade last year when he took the course. As you heard me say up here yesterday, Alec Grant was the best president I've ever worked with in the short history of the Student Investment Club. And my only sixth form advisee, Premanon Chesina, known as Young, had the best score and won the Physics Bowl, a national test in that subject. Now, I've never been known particularly as a sports guy, but there's one sports hero I've begun to feel some common connection with. And that is someone probably you all know, Derek Jeter, the longtime Yankees shortstop. Derek, like me, spent most of his professional career working for the same organization because he wanted to, and he found great satisfaction there. He loves the New York Yankees, just as I feel the same way about this school. Derek has also had a series of send-offs and cheering crowds this season at each stadium they go to, just as I've had sort of a long goodbye here at Salisbury in the past month. I've been honored by the alumni with an honorary class membership, by the Dramatic Society with a prize in my name, for a school holiday, and other celebrations on and off the campus for which I am truly grateful. I saw an interview with Derek Jeter in the Cape Cod Times back at the beginning of the spring, and the headline read as follows, Jeter, you can't do this forever. When Derek said you, I could see him pointing at me, as well as referring to himself. We both figured out when the time was right to move on to something else before we get too old to enjoy it. Now, before I close, I want to share with you some notes I have from a talk with Carl Williams, a longtime math teacher and ski coach at Salisbury. Carl passed away a couple of years ago, and the terrace overlooking the valley is named for him. When he was seriously ill, I visited Carl, and we talked about the 5 senses. Not the usual hearing, seeing, tasting, etc., but 5 other senses. They're actually life skills that I will pass along to you. Have a sense of humor. Laugh at yourself before you laugh at others. Have a sense of excitement. See new places, meet new people, keep on learning. Have a sense of enthusiasm for all you do. Don't hold back. Have a sense of responsibility. Learn from both your successes and from your failures. And have a sense of involvement. Don't have nothing to do. Don't let yourself be bored. And last, you need a little bit of luck, as the song goes. Be at the right place at the right time. As you start the next phase of your life, after Salisbury, class of 2014, I wish all of you that luck. Thank you and goodbye, Salisbury.
Before I ask our next speaker, Mr. Blake Owens, to come up to the podium, I want to thank him in front of his classmates and his family and all those that are present at the ceremony today. Blake Owens is a superb young man, bright, focused. He was elected to serve his classmates and the school community this year as the top student leader, and his leadership is evident in the terrific year we all have enjoyed. Balancing individual pursuits, an incredibly rigorous course of study, and with the responsibility of health and the welfare of 300 schoolmates is not an easy task. Nevertheless, Blake has done both very well. Admitted to his top two choices, UCLA and Columbia, he has chosen the West Coast route. And after this past winter, I don't blame him one bit. He has earned it. Fortunately, we've been blessed to have not one but two student leaders this year, and we will hear from Sean Kim after Blake's speech for the awarding of the Sixth Form Medal. Right now, it is my pleasure to call to the podium Mr. Blake Owens, the president of the school and speaker for the class of 2014.
All right. Good morning. As Gabriel Conroy from James Joyce's Dubliners would put it, I've been asked to perform a task, a very pleasing task, but a task for which I'm afraid my poor powers as a speaker are all too inadequate. I would like to dedicate this speech to my grandfather, the toughest man I have ever met. He suffered from a stroke several years ago and has just recently endured 3 more. And he could still, without a doubt, kick my ass, which I'm not actually sure if I'm allowed to say that, so I apologize. I would like to tell you that I've been preparing for this moment all year, but in truth, I first started thinking about it during one of my AP exams the other week. After I finished the section early, I proceeded to write a rough draft directly on the exam booklet. I initially struggled with the topic of this speech, but after some deep contemplation, I realized the topic was lying right before me. We've been blessed with the all-encompassing power of thought. It is what sets us apart from all other creatures. If I cannot captivate you on this beautiful spring morning, my one wish is to leave you all in thought, because it is truly one of our unique, defining abilities as human beings. Nearly every night this year, I found myself stuck in thought as I would lie in bed at night. On average, it would take me 3, 4, 5, and sometimes even up to 6 hours to fall asleep. As I would lie there, motionless, staring at the ceiling, I would ponder on something terrifying. I found that over the course of our human existence, one thing consists of consistence, and it's that we're all battling fear. But what is it exactly that we fear? Loneliness, rejection, our loss of freedom, of identity? Personally, as I hinted earlier, I fear inadequacy. I fear that I will never live up to my expectations as a son, a grandson, a brother, a friend, and a scholar. However, I can say that we all have a common fear, and that is that we fear that we live, that is that we fear of a life living without purpose. At the end of the road, we all want to look back and see that we lived a life worth living. There are 7,146,000,000 people on this planet, and most of us have the audacity to think we matter. So, what is it that breaks us from this perpetual state of being that we call daily life? Simply put, what is our purpose here on this earth? To be honest, I don't know, and I really don't think any of us know. All I can say is that I believe our purpose is to find a purpose. Throughout the course of our lives, we ought to strive to cement our place in society. Gentlemen, it starts now. We are on the brink of adulthood, and it's time to step up. No longer will we be known by what our parents do or by what our families did. It's time to forge our own identities. It's time to let the world know who the Salisbury School Class of 2014 is. When I look out at the Class of 2014, I see engineers, doctors, businessmen, all integral parts of the global community. We all have the potential to make a difference. It may be a small impact or maybe a large impact. Either way, any bit of positive influence is a step in the right direction. So, my fellow graduates, I will tell you that there are 7,146,000,000 people on this planet, and we should have the audacity to think we matter, because we are Salisbury gentlemen. When I sat by my grandfather's hospital bed last month, he gave me a few words of advice. Always say you're sorry, even if it's not your fault, and never be afraid to say I love you. And at that point in time, I saw something that I never thought would happen. I saw my grandfather cry. Mind you, this is the same man who get into a fight with someone for so much as gave him the wrong look or honked at him at a stop sign. He was known by our family friends as the Marlboro Man, not only for his smoking habits, but for his calm, cool, and tough demeanor. This man literally embodies the idea of what it means to be tough. But at this moment of weakness, even a man such as my grandfather succumbed to the realization that he had left stones unturned. He said he wanted to spend more time with my grandmother and less time building his precious cars. He said, in broader terms, that he wanted to enjoy the remainder of his life by righting all of his wrongs. As I sat there, weeping by his side as he experienced this epiphany, I too shared this moment of realization. Who knows how much longer my grandfather has? Who knows how much longer any of us have? With that in mind, we must live every day to the fullest. We must ensure that the ones we hold dearest to our hearts know that we love them. And like my grandfather said, we should say sorry even if it's not our fault. If swallowing your pride and saying sorry saves a relationship or a friendship, then so be it. After all, life is the most fleeting of entities, so precious and so extraordinarily fragile. I'm sure most of you are questioning the interconnectedness of this speech or its relationship to graduation. But like I said before, I want you all to think. I want you all to reflect on your lives, especially the class of 2014. We have time on our side. We may be young, but we've endured years of Saturday classes, no girls, a strict dress code, nightly study hall, and much, much more. We have proven that we are resilient. We have braved the mightiest of challenges, namely Mr. Russell's AP US History course, outrageously extended sit-down meals for athletic awards, Mr. Chamberlain's mind-numbing AP calculus tests, and of course, who could forget Mr. Proctor Smith's notoriously lengthy, albeit entertaining, school meeting announcements, and sometimes even in sub-zero weather. So, on this great day of accomplishment, let us look back at our time at Salisbury. Let us remember the strangers you once met who are now the brothers sitting beside you. Let us remember our teachers, our advisors, our coaches, and all those who shed light upon our paths and gave us guidance. But also let us look forward into the future with the knowledge we have acquired from this institution to ensure that we live a life worth living. In conclusion, I'd like to leave you with a quote from the man himself, an urban philosopher just before our time, Tupac Shakur. My mama used to tell me, if you can't find something to live for, you best find something to die for. Gentlemen, find your purpose, whatever it may be, and leave no stones unturned. We did it, boys. It's our day. Carpe diem.
We are awarding those faculty members who have made a big positive difference in our lives. First one goes to Mr. Andrew Will. The second, Mr. Brian Farrell.
Thank you, boys. I'd now like to invite Assistant Headmaster Bobby Wynn to assist with the awarding of our Leadership and Service Awards.
Thank you, Mr. Chandler. It is now my honor and pleasure to announce this year's winners of Salisbury's Leadership and Service Awards. The first award is the Richard Fromberg Award, given in honor of Richard Fromberg, class of 1984. This award is determined by vote of the faculty and given to a sixth former who has overcome extraordinary adversity. This year's award goes to Jesus Everardo Velasquez. The Leland Rhodes Fellowship Award, given by the Rhodes family in memory of their son Leland of the class of 1986. Leland's love of the outdoors was exemplary, and this award is for character that transcends many recognized standards. This year's award is shared by Rudolph Ballard Leverin and Daniel Patrick Cohn. The Reverend Edwin M. Ward Prize, established by the faculty in 1990, is awarded by vote of the faculty to that student who exemplifies the spirit of quiet and dedicated service to others which characterized Salisbury's fourth headmaster, the Reverend Edwin Ward. This year's award goes to Joseph Thaddeus McGlone. The Crosby Medal, given in memory of Robert Southgate Brown Crosby by Arthur N. Sewell, is awarded by vote of the fifth and sixth forms to that sixth former who has rendered the greatest service to the school. This year's award goes to Scott Michael Hubby. The Quayle Medal, given in memory of founding headmaster and his wife, the Reverend Dr. and Mrs. George E. Quayle, and second headmaster, Reverend Emerson B. Quayle, is awarded by vote of the faculty to that member of the graduating class who has shown the most satisfactory development during his Salisbury years. This year's award goes to Benjamin Webb Campbell. The Founders Medal, established by Salisbury's founding headmaster, the Reverend Dr. George E. Quayle, is awarded by vote of the faculty to that student who has rendered the greatest service to the school in leadership and loyalty. This year's award goes to Scott Michael Hubby. The Headmaster's Medal is given to the first scholar of this year's sixth form. The first scholar of the sixth form this year is Jack Brody Ward.
All right, fellas, here we go. I'm going to ask Mr. Michael Sylvester to join me in the awarding of the sixth form diplomas.
Kyle James Adams. Felix Vincent Allard. Aiden J. Appleby. Avery Baker. Eldon Lorraine Baker. Derek Jameson Rock. Adam Michael Bauman, cum laude. Jack Brobston. Theo Duc Buoy. Benjamin Webb Campbell. Paul Allen Campbell. Ryan Anthony Castle. Cremanon Chaisena. Cum laude. Seyung Chen. Jonathan Bruce Clark, Jr. Nicholas Lawrence Caminos. Not sure what that was. Daniel Patrick Cohn. Nicholas Francois Cote. Thomas Edward D'Antonio. Austin Descartes. Henry Cushing Di Bonaventura. John Blaine DeCaro. Quan Wong Do, cum laude. Harrison John Feldman. Demetrios Floros. Matthew Briggs Farrelly, Jr. Colin Patrick Giblin. Koji Gormanzano. Alec Torrey Grant. Justin Joseph Gooderding. Dylan Jacob Holt. Scott Michael Hubby. Dominic Vincent Intriri.